And hey, London, there you go. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Pam Perry, and I've been doing PR for a good little minute, roughly uh, longer than 25 years, actually. So I've been doing PR for a while, and I want to, uh, Dr. Gigi, there you go. Started out working in print, love print, was a journalism major in school at Wayne State University here in Detroit. First job, first real job, big job, was working at the Detroit Free Press. And I stayed there for about 7 years. And then I moved into radio and I worked at some AC stations here in the area. Actually, the first station was actually a talk show. I don't know if Esther knows this, but there was a gentleman by the name of Rush Limbaugh. I had no idea. I was so young. But yeah, I was at a station that sold Rush Limbaugh. Okay, so that was a whole nother thing. But I did meet Joe Madison at that station as well. So they had Rush Limbaugh and then they had Joe Madison on the weekend. So those of you who know Joe Madison, he was the GOAT. Loved Joe Madison. He was once the president of the NAACP here in Detroit. So anyway, so I went from print, working in print, writing copy for print, doing sales and advertising in print at the Detroit Free Press, then worked into radio, then worked in television, Christian television. And then actually I was working in nonprofit, did that for many years as well. But always PR, let me go back and admit people here. Always PR was my main jam. Okay, that was my main jam. So whether I was working in radio, working in television, or working in print, in the media, my main jam was always promoting, amplifying messages, and marketing. So we're going to go through the power moves of 2025. And at the end, got to keep my eye on this. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Kamaria, my BDS sister. Welcome, welcome. So the first thing, I'm going to give you 25 PR power moves to elevate your brand's visibility, credibility in any industry. Okay. And I always say, if you don't make a plan, you plan to fail. So these are some of the things that you have to have a plan and you have to work the plan. That is really, really clear. So the first thing, and this is with journalism 101, is craft a compelling brand story. We crafted a brand story for this young lady here, Kamika, who actually is celebrating 15 years, and she has an event on this Saturday. And she was the cover of Speakers Magazine this particular month. And it got a lot of buzz for her. Got a lot of buzz for her the month of September, which was actually Women's Small Business Month. October was Women's Small Business Month. And she has been everywhere. So just recently, we were on Cafe Mocha Radio, and she is with Alfred Edmond and Black Enterprise. And this particular one ran in blacknews.com. And the story of this is not necessarily the fact that Kamika was on the cover, which she was. That's really cool. But the fact that she honors Black women entrepreneurs during the month, and we'll talk about that, about timing of National Women's Small Business Month. So the story for Kamika is how she started, her backstory. We highlighted a lot of things that she has done over the 15 years. And then it culminates this particular Saturday with an event that she's doing as a webinar. And then also, too, the other part of her story, she's executive producer of a HBCU special that is coming out this week as well, this coming Sunday. So a lot of things that a journalist or a person that you work with, a publicist, or even yourself, if you could get the mindset of what does a producer want, what makes news, what makes it relevant, and what makes it timely. So, and then pitching that story to the right audience, pitching it to the right media. So you have to know the media, first of all. You have to know how your media matches, how your story matches that media. That's one of the number one, is one of the number ones. I don't think people spend enough time really understanding their story. They're so interested in getting the press or getting the exposure that they don't understand the story. And Esther, who's on here as well, understands that this is the main thing. Journalists probably get and producers probably get 200 or 300 emails a day from people just pitching. It's like basically the people are saying, make me famous, but it's not about making you famous. It's about what story are you telling? So I can't really stress that enough. That is the foundation. Number two is to make sure that you're leveraging your social proof. Two clients here. One is C. Eric Collier, who is a speaker. He leverages a lot of his, I guess you would say, a lot of his media hits in his banner. And I saw this on LinkedIn, so I grabbed it. But he's been in Speakers Magazine, obviously, but a lot of these in New York Weekly. He has been in Kivo Daily. He's been in Black. He's been on America's Hope with Kelly Wright. He's been in different ones. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging, you're showcasing things that you have done to build your trust and credibility. Kim Jordan, she is a jazz artist out of the Washington, D.C. area. She just dropped a single, Already All Right. She was in the Music Observer. I personally, because I do PR, I highlighted that story so people can click and actually go to that story. So you want to make sure that you're always leveraging social proof, that you want to make sure that if you have case studies or testimonials. We were just on with Talkadot with Aurel Moody. And one of the things that his system does that I love, it will collect data. If you're speaking from the stage, automatically put that data together. You can hit a button, it'll generate a meme for you. You won't have to even do anything like C. Eric does. It would actually generate the percentage of people that enjoyed your presentation in a case study format. It'll print a report. It'll create graphics for you. It is a game changer. So if you're not familiar with Talkadot, you could email me later at pam@pamperrypr.com and I could send you some information regarding that. Number 3, build strategic partnerships. YB, I just saw that YB was here as well. We talk about partnerships, collaboration creates currency. His book is over there. But one of the things that the book, if you don't have it, the Speak Up book that I've done with Black Speakers Network is something that is a collaborative book. 30 of us came together and did this one book. We had the foreword and the afterword by Les Brown and George Fraser. Again, that was collaboration because they were clients of mine. And so Brian was just starting out and I said, hey, you want to be a part of this book? I said, sure. Let's get George Fraser, Uncle George, and Les Brown to do the foreword and the afterword. And they did. We did, Brian and I, in terms of collaboration and strategic partnerships, he has a network of Black speakers. Speakers Magazine, obviously, is a magazine that's targeted towards African-American speakers. So we are the official magazine of BSN, Black Speakers Network. We do a lot of things in partnerships. On Professional Speakers Day in August, we held a event together. We had Dr. Cheryl Wood, Della Toro, Willie Jolly, Norma Hollis, Rodney C. Burris, and Quinn Conyers. The partnerships are what matter. So if you really want to build your brand and take your business to the next level, don't just shout in the silo. You need to have synergy energy, which is the name of my first book, How to Use the Power of Partnerships to Market Your Book, Grow Your Business, and Brand Your Ministry. I did this book probably about 20 years ago, but it's still true. Collaboration with brands, influencers, organizations, those are the type of things that you really want to do to make sure that you amplify your message. Now, you can also work with organizations. I also collaborate a lot with Black Door Society, which is an organization I'm a part of, and I started and co-founded with Sharon Morton. But you want to continue to do that. Don't just be that type of person that's always looking to take. You've got to give. There's a book called Go Giver that's really, really good. I think people who have an attitude of wanting to give, like George Fraser does, they are more successful. So it's almost like the golden rule, treat other people how you want to be treated. It's not a thing where you will lose if you partner with people, you will gain. There's enough for everyone. Have an abundant mindset. Number 4, thought, thought leadership. Establish thought leadership. So when I say establish thought leadership, what I mean here is really positioning yourself as an expert. I have a show coming out next year called Expert Insight, but positioning yourself as an industry expert by contributing content that is valuable, publications that are relevant to your area of expertise, blogs, or speaking at events. Obviously, that's really, really key. But even before you get to speaking at events, having a book is important. Having those pieces of content, having what they call white papers, those are important. Those kind of things are what the media looks for because you're now that go-to expert. So by establishing thought leadership, I have a client that only Omar's favorite go-to is LinkedIn. He's always on LinkedIn. Omar Harris. Omar is DEI, diversity, leadership. And he is now one of the top thought leaders. You know how sometimes on LinkedIn it'll give you that badge or that honor of being a top thought leader. So he's a top thought leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And those are the things because he contributes valuable content. They noticed that he was contributing. He was always answering questions. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. Number 5 is harness the power of social media. You know, a strategic plan for where your audience is active. Now, we can all get on TikTok and shake it up over there. But if your audience is on LinkedIn, it won't make any sense. So we only have so much time that we spend. So you want to make sure that where your audience is active, that you focus on content there that educates, inspires, and engages. Because I find that for a lot of my baby boomer clients, they will be so frustrated at Instagram because they're not getting traction. And I said, well, ma'am, where is your audience? Well, a lot of them are on LinkedIn. Well, go to LinkedIn. Instagram may be not where your audience is. Yes, it's a beautiful platform. I love it. I just did a LinkedIn, a Instagram live today. We have content. I have staff people that post things on Instagram all the time, but I'm not active there. Most of my clients are really going to be on LinkedIn. So you want to develop a strategic plan. Within LinkedIn, there's LinkedIn articles, which I have, which is really turns into a newsletter. There's LinkedIn Live, which I do weekly. Definitely, there are LinkedIn groups, and people really sleep on the LinkedIn groups. You can create your own group. Speakers Magazine has a group on LinkedIn. I post exclusive content in the Speakers Magazine group. I also have a Christian writers group on LinkedIn. There's the Black Enterprise group. There are groups within LinkedIn. And the reason why you want to get into LinkedIn without really making this about LinkedIn, but I'm just saying harness the social media, is that you can connect with people in a group that you couldn't normally connect otherwise because you're in the same group. So that's why you want to join groups, because sometimes you may not be able to connect with someone because they haven't accepted your connection request. So you definitely want to make sure that you're going to be a part of groups. LinkedIn is also my favorite because that's where I reach out to a lot of my media friends as well. So what number is this? Is everyone, I'm looking in the chat here. So I want to make sure that I look in the chat as well. If you are enjoying this, please let me know if you have questions. I'm going to try and answer those towards the end so I can get through all 25 of these. Number six, just put a little heart by or something like that. Create evergreen content. Now, I have been blogging probably for about 15 years, I guess. And I've been podcasting equally as well. My first podcast was on Blog Talk Radio. Show how old that is. But create evergreen content. Now I have a podcast called Speakers Magazine Podcast. I've had Dr. Dennis Kimbrough to Dr. Cheryl Wood, different people on there. John Register was just on not too long ago. But evergreen content is really like that how to information, where it's giving insights. It's really attracting people to you continuously. If you are a thought leader, which we kind of talked about, you're going to have content. And so you can put your content out as guides, you can put it out as blogs, you can put it out as podcasts. I would suggest putting it out in podcasts because the search engine loves podcasts. Speakers Magazine is every Wednesday, and we have different guests that are speakers. So speakersmagazine.com to really see the podcast there, but they're also in all the podcast directories. Number 7, this is really the PR game changer for a lot of people, not really understanding how to leverage SEO and content marketing. And had a client today, we were talking about, okay, if someone was going to put in Google trying to find you, to work with you, or to get you to speak, what words are they going to put in Google? And do you show up? So we put in the words. She didn't show up, but we looked at who did show up. And I said, that's because they are leveraging SEO. They're using keywords. You're optimizing your website for search engine and making sure that you're organically going to be found. The whole point of it is to optimize it, optimize it. Speakersmagazine.com is optimized for that. Any speaker that is on Speakers Magazine website, if people were to Google them, especially if they want to know if they're a speaker, they're going to show up on our website. Why? Because we have it optimized. Their photos are showing up. Their articles are showing up. That is so that they're positioning themselves as a speaker. Again, the power of social media is so dynamic. The other part that is social media that's really growing is influencers, and connecting with influencers that are on the gram. If you don't have a big following on the gram, find an influencer that has juice on the gram and let them, talk about you, talk about your book, your program, or whatever, but collaborate. Again, a partnership is really the way to share your message with them, because now you're harnessing social media, but you're collaborating with influencers. Obviously, you would have to pay them, but that is the new way to, not to knock ads. People still run ads, but people believe other people rather than just looking at an ad. It's not rehearsed. Influencer is typically going to be someone that people trust. So you want to make sure that you are harnessing the authority or the influence of influencers. There's an organization that I went to a couple of weeks ago in Louisville, and it was called Fly Ageless, flyageless.com. It's for when people who are Gen Xers or baby boomers that are flying ageless, right? And it was a content creators haven, because all of these influencers are like 100,000, 200,000 people that are influencers that are over the age of 40 and 50 and into their 60s. And they are being tapped on by brands or different people who want to just tap into their influence. That's a whole nother level of how to really make a PR power move in 2025. Number 9, always going to be one of the main staples of any publicist is establishing media relationships. We have relationships with SiriusXM, whether it is Carl Brown or Sharon Morton. We also have relationships with PBS. We have relationships definitely with the Black press, Denise Rolark Barnes from the Washington Informer, Amsterdam News, won Publisher of the Week of the year. And then we're membership of the National Press Club. So building and nurturing relationships with the journalists and editors increases your chances of earning media coverage. Now, I could do a whole webinar about how to nurture relationships, but I will tell you this: don't reach out when you only want something. You heard of that. If you only hear from someone when they only want something, you typically are always going to go in the trash. That means develop a relationship, wish them a happy birthday, congratulate them when they won an award, like their posts, retweet their stuff, whatever it is, develop a relationship, send them an email. I really enjoyed the article that you wrote about A, B, and C, or I agree with you. Slide in their DM. I agree with that article that you wrote. I really enjoyed that broadcast, that segment. Do something for them first before you go and beg for what you want. I'm not even gonna go there. So number 10, use data and statistics in your messaging. Now, this one person here, she's a producer at CNN over there in the white. She really gives a lot of statistics about Black women and Black women's health. And she has a lot of statistics about that. She works as a producer at CNN, but she also has a foundation, and she gets the news herself because she's always talking about the statistics in her data, and she does a lot of research. You don't have to become like a research junkie, but you do have to have your data. So incorporate data in your content. That is something that will always going to resonate with media. They are want to know what is the real numbers, not just what you feel. Okay. The other thing is highlight milestones and achievements. If you've been in Speakers Magazine on the cover, show that you have. If you won an award, which my client did, of Inc. Power Partner 2024, highlight that. We sent out a press release. We actually had her on some other shows and podcasts talking about that. She just finished a show in, so her hometown was Indianapolis, Yolanda. And so she was actually on a show in Indianapolis talking about this award and brought the award in there. It's actually in Inc. magazine this month. So it's in Inc. magazine. She won this award. If you're in the magazine, you want to make sure you highlight your achievements. That gives you that credibility. That's what gives you that credibility. So you want to make sure that you are doing that. Doing a press release, putting it out on the wire is key to really making sure that you stay SEO friendly. Okay. Number 12, create consistent brand voice. Again, this is one of those things that is like a pet peeve of mine. So how you call yourself that in every way. If you're going to be Dr. such and such or such senior, or if you're going to use your middle initial and not use your middle initial, if you're going to hyphenate your name, not hyphenate your name, be consistent, because Google will not, Google gets confused. How you call yourself that. I am Pam Perry. I don't go by Pamela. I don't put my middle initial in there. I don't put Mrs. in there. You want to be consistent. So be consistent. But the other thing is be visible to your target market as well. So if your target market, like I said, is not on TikTok, quit trying to be on TikTok, because that's the new shiny toy. If your audience is on LinkedIn, be on LinkedIn. If your audience is on IG, be on IG. If they're on YouTube, be on YouTube. But you want to make sure that you are going to be recognizable to your audience. So people who are your ideal audience will say, I see you everywhere. No, they don't see you everywhere. They're seeing you where they are. And they think you're everywhere, but you are just being niched down to that one particular audience where they are. So you want to make sure that you're doing that you are doing all of those things and connecting with them emotionally with your audience. That is so important. I find that one of the biggest things, the problems that people have, is they don't have clarity and they're changing up their message. I guess they personally get bored with it themselves, but I have been doing this since 2000. My message has not changed. Do I get bored with it? Yeah, sometimes I'll change some colors or whatever. But the point of it is, that I do PR and I do it well. That is it. I may put it in different formats, but it's always going to go back to promoting, amplifying, and marketing your brand book or business. That is my promise. Number 13, invest in high quality visual content. Now this, I think most people have. I think the social media has made it an age where everybody now can be the fabulous superstar. So these are my clients here. Some of this work is done by the fabulous Jeff Brooks, Dr. Teresa Mosley, who's in London right now doing her award and speaking, and then Sharon Morton, the fabulous Black Door Society. These photos were taken by Jeff Brooks. And Yolanda is the one I told you that won the Inc. Power Award. So she did her first conference this year and did fabulous with her brand influence, launched her book and that thing. She was in Speak Sell Shine for first cohort last year that we do every single year in Washington, D.C. So I think people understand they have to invest in high quality visual content that is really professional photos, videos, graphics. I mean, Canva has made everybody like that graphic artist now. But let me tell you, if you go back on YouTube and see some of my old videos or go back a few on some of those old blogs, you see some real sketchy, crunchy videos and photos. But we got to start somewhere. So everybody's on the come up. Number 14, host or sponsor events. So next year, if you do not have your own signature event, I would suggest that you host one, or if there's one that you really like, maybe you sponsor that because you don't have the bandwidth to do it. So when I say host or sponsor it, you can sponsor it from letting that person put it all together, and you're just there paying to have them put you in the spotlight, so to speak, whether you have some stage time, whether you have a booth there, you're part of their marketing. You can host an event. You don't always I mean, you can sponsor the event. You don't always have to host it. If you host it, you will have more, obviously, more control over it, but you can also sponsor it. So organize and participate in events that bring your brand directly to your audience, right? Knowing your audience is number one, but it allows for real-time interaction with people. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. That is an event. That gentleman over there, you know, is Denzel, but the other Denzel is my husband, Mark Perry. He is there with Linda Johnson Rice in the middle there. She is one of my sheroes at the Ebony affair that they had a few years ago. So yeah, I love events. Speakers Magazine is really driven on events. People who are on the cover we are at their events. So if you want to be on the cover of the physical magazine, you could do that. You have a center spread, and we actually are at your event. Now, we are doing something different this year for Black Friday, where we have digital covers available this year. So I'll get to that in a minute. Number 15, run a timely PR campaign. Okay. So this is Nikichi down at the bottom, client of mine, Nikichi Taifa. She's really big on reparations. February comes around. She is like she's so busy during February, during Black History Month. We had her on New York Times Square talking about her books. She had a lot of books that were dealing with children, and really telling that whole story around that. But there's so many current events, so many holidays, so many health holidays. Make sure that if you're going to do a PR campaign, say you're launching a book, make sure it's around the time that it's going to make sense for the news cycles. Okay, enough really said about that, because if you have a book that's about health, you don't want to launch it in December. Definitely don't want it during Thanksgiving time. Maybe January, when people are starting to think about health, those kind of things. Number 16 is share success stories. So this is Esther, and this is Vicky, clients of mine, and they were on Kelly Wright's show. Hope and resilience was the theme. And they shared the video, they shared the graphics. They're really just spotlighting that they were on this show. I also did as well, because I helped book them on the show. So I'm spotlighting the success of clients that are doing well. You want to make sure that you're continually doing that, so you're not just always just yelling what you can do, but showing what you could do, right? So when Nikichi was on the cover of Speakers Magazine, she had the New York Times billboard. We took a picture of that, put it out in social media. You're amplifying it. So promoting, amplifying, marketing are INGs. They're continual. This is Beverly. So one of the things what we have is Ready, Set, Go, Speak. It's a community. People are with me for a year. They have access to me. They're in a community. We're talking about PR, marketing, and branding. It's a club. It's a community. It sits on not on Facebook, but it's a separate club. And really, we promote that. So whenever we have members that are in there, we promote that they are part of our community. So really, they have access to exclusive things, what we put in there every single week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, but access to awards that they can apply to, events that they can attend, events they can speak at. I put one in there the other day, Beverly. I hope you saw that you could apply to go to, and then also media opportunities. And so every single week, they build on each other. If they didn't get to it, they can go back and apply to go to another media opportunity, podcast, and things like that. But we put those in there. And then also what's also in there that is nowhere else is a virtual media summit where they can hear from real media people. And then also the branding accelerator that's in there as well as all the other resources that we put in there, templates. Beverly asked a question the other day. We have people answer it. Other people can answer it, weigh in. Someone asked, like, what can I do to sell my book more? And so we point them to resources, and actually they can do things with each other. I saw something happen the other day and I didn't know it happened. I think it was Pamela Luheen and Tari Donaldson. They did a podcast together and they met through the Ready, Set, Go Speak community. So that's kind of the beauty of why this is. Not that you have to have a publicist that really directs you, but also a publicist that puts you together with people. And I'm really, really big on partnerships and collaboration. That's really one of my things. Number 18 is monitor your brand. Put yourself on Google Alert. Put yourself on Google Alert so that you will know what's coming up. Okay. So make sure that you know that, oh my God, what's being said about me? So monitor your brand and then put your name in just Google, just periodically see what's coming up. Or do it on a different computer, or have a friend, because if you Google yourself all the time, the same stuff may come up. So get on another computer, put in your name and see what comes up. See what's coming up on page one. Actively track your online reputation. Now, if some stuff come up that's kind of crazy, got some work to do. But being Googleicious is really the name of the game right now. Beverly's like, yep, she knows. I talk about being Googleicious all the time. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. And you guys can come off of mute. You don't have to stay silent, because I know, I could go. I really can. So if you have a question, definitely make sure that you or comment, because I'm not looking at the chat. I can't see the chat and the screen and letting in people. And it's just too much going on, right? It's like, okay, just unmute. We family here. It's fine. This is not your typical webinar, because I'm just really just wanting to give you content about things that will matter in 2025, that either to recommend or remind you what you need to do. 19, leverage newsjacking. One of the things is tie your brand message into something that's trending, whatever is in the news. Now, the caveat is you got to know what's going on in the news, right? So you do have to take a little bit of the news in. I know it could be negative and we're trying to stay positive, but you do have to know what's going on in the news. So one of the things that's going on in the news is obviously the election, after election, what's going on, who's dismantling what, who's happening, whatever. So you want to make sure that you could tie in your brand to that. Again, Esther at the P.A.M, the Black Information Network, one of the things she's talking about is education, because part of this new administration was that they want to dismantle a lot of the educational policies and dismantle the whole public education. So a lot of teachers, if you are an educational leader, you can go on top, even though they speak on some things by themselves. He's a keynote speaker and he coaches and trains and talks about student success, which will be on there. But also, too, he can talk about what's currently going on in the news cycle. So being aware of what's going on that. And then how do you do that? I have templates that I show people how to write a basic pitch. And it's to someone, a media outlet that and then say, hey, this is going on. I have a perspective on this, because you're a thought leader. You want to lead with your thoughts on this particular thing. I could be the expert to come in and comment on that. And that's all you're doing. You're offering information for them. You're not going in to sell your book, but you do want to make sure that you are going to be adding value to their audience and it aligns with yours. Okay. I have another client that is continually on Al Jazeera. He talks about politics, or if you talk about sports, you can have a commentary about that. So I want to say most thought leaders are in that silo, but please make sure in 2025 that you're looking at what is trending on the news. This was a secret that I gave the Ready, Set, Go Speak community, that you can find out what's really trending in the news without watching the news by watching the late night shows. Because the beginning of their monologue, they talk about what's trending. They do it in a funny way, but at least you know what's going on to go and check what it is you're talking about, so that you're not clueless. So if you, whatever late night show after the news at 11:30 and you watch the monologue, you'll kind of know what is trending in the news. Okay. That's just a little tip. Number 20.
Can you hear me, Pam?
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, David, Dr. David.
Yeah, that template for the media, where's that at? You just
That's in
said
the
something
ready.
about,
Yeah, that's in the Ready Set Go Speak community.
oh, okay.
Yep, yep. And so you can have access to that too, because a lot of the Speak Sell Shine, that's where they're hanging out.
And plus, aren't I alumni of the other one?
You are, you are, you are.
All right.
So I will get that to you. I will get you that
Thank you.
of BAP. He's the branding accelerator. So invest in professional media training. I have a good friend who's also a client. We're clients of each other. Is Sharon Morton. She does media training. She used to be a news anchor for 15, 16 years. So what media training does. Now, a speaker, having a professional speaker training is different from having a media training because you're typically going to go on television and your segment is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes. So you need to know how to talk in sound bites. Usually speakers they learn how to speak for an hour, nonstop. It's different when you're talking to sound bites. So you do need media training because most speakers say, I know how to talk. I'll handle it. And they get on and they flop because it's different. So invest in media training. That is one of the key things. Sharon Morton of Morton Media is a person that could help you with that. Because listen, when I book you on different shows, I'm going to make sure that I assume that you are going to do good. I will see from podcasts, watching you on podcasts, if you have the chops for it, and then I probably won't put you on major networks until I see that you really come up. But if you want to come up faster, get media training. They will really prepare you so that you're concise and impactful. The other thing is utilize podcasts. This is one of my favorite things. And like I said, I've got 2 podcasts, but as a PR tool, podcast allows you, television will give you maybe 7 to 10 minutes. But if you're going to be on a podcast, you can tell more of your story. And it is very, like I said, Google loves podcasts. So our partner that we work with is Pitch DP, which is now Speaker Hub. They really match you up with relevant podcasts so that you can really share your insights about industry. And that is really, really key. Now, do we put people on podcasts? Absolutely. But I always think that if you're doing PR, you start with print, a longer form story, and then you go into broadcast. But podcasts are now a little bit longer form stories. So it's good to do the stories because we do the quick media coverage where people can go into the particular longer form content, whether it's ERU Web, Electronic Urban Report, or whether they're going to go on Sheen Magazine or Black Enterprise, a longer form story, blacknews.com, or they could do a podcast. It's like a half an hour or an hour, but you need to show your expertise. The TV segment, even though it was shorter, obviously feel like you have a little bit more cachet, but it really is the TV producers take a lot of their information from listening to longer form content, reading longer form content. So if I'm pitching, and I just pitched a client the other day, and they got booked, and she's going to be on the CBN on the show, basically sent their story, long form story about what they've overcome, the things that they've gone through, and how they've come out on the other side. So now they're going to be on CBN. So starting with the short pitch letter to them and then showing them a longer form story is really, really key. Or sending them a longer podcast so they can actually hear what it is you have to say as a thought leader and an expert. Number 22, build an engaging newsletter. Now people say, oh my God, that is old school. No, newsletters are the thing because a newsletter is not just words. You can embed your podcast in the newsletter. You can embed your video in the newsletter. You want to embed all the good, juicy stuff in your newsletter. And once a month, if people don't read your emails any other time, and you should always read my newsletters because I send out good newsletters, making sure that it's putting in that content that they may have missed. So build an engaging newsletter, put in multimedia in your newsletter. I put in GIFs sometimes in my newsletters, but I have a different system where every 2 blogs creates a newsletter and it goes out. But that's just kind of some of the things that I do. But make sure that you are doing that. Let me tell you, people who have newsletters make a lot of money by speaking because it shows, again, that thought leadership. A lot of people like, well, I post my stuff on social media. I post it, but do the newsletter, do the email newsletter. It puts you above the fray. Anybody can post on Facebook. Do something that's going to be a little bit more thoughtful. That's Auntie Pam telling me that right there. Okay, number 23, pitch unique angles for different media outlets. So one of the things we want to make sure is we don't want to do generic pitches. Like, I'm going to write one pitch. This is a template Pam gave me, and I'm gonna send the same pitch to like 50 people that I found that she had listed on her in her directory of media. No, you got to tailor it to each one. That's how you get picked up. That's why people hire publicists. Ooh, that's a lot of work. Yep, that's why people hire publicists. So you're tailoring your pitch to each media outlet, providing a unique perspective that stands out from the generic PR pitches. That's where the rub gets in. Okay, because you will not hit select all and send out that same press release to everybody, or hit select all and send out that same pitch to everybody, because trust me, it'll all go in the trash. It has to be tailored to that. That means you have to know the outlet, know the person, the reporter, the journalist, the producer, the editor, whoever that person is, know enough about them to tailor it to them. All right. Don't just say, hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Trash. Number 24 and 25. Again, social listening. So this is a client of mine down here, Kelsey. So Kelsey is now an Afrotech right now, but engaging in social media, she has about 100,000 people following her on TikTok. Now, she's a Gen Z. So it's different for her. That Gen Z generation, that's TikTok is their CNN. Okay, that's their news. But she monitors what people are saying, and she builds it into what her content is. Now, she's been on today.com. She's very consistent. Again, this is with it as well. She is building out her speaking business. She's a brand influencer, known as the Print Princess. She talks about print. So you can see why I like her. But she talks about print and really gets Gen Zs involved in print, and millennials and below, about being involved in print, reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, that sort of thing. But she monitors what people are saying, and then she actually talks about that on her TikToks, which go viral. I mean, thousands and thousands for every TikTok, and 100,000 following her on TikTok. Being consistent and persistent is the main thing. It is really the main thing, because it doesn't matter what it is that you do, your messaging has to be consistent and persistent. Don't start out talking about this and then go into something else, or start a podcast. God forbid. The average podcast is about 6 episodes. So anybody said, in 2025, I'm going to start my podcast. Okay, write out at least 12 episodes so that you can at least have 12, because the average person will quit after 6, because they just say, oh, this is too much work. And if you don't want to do a podcast, it's okay. Just be consistent and persistent with whatever you do. Get on other people's podcasts if you don't want to do a podcast. It's okay. I like podcasting. I personally love podcasting. I've been doing it since, like I said, Blog Talk Radio. So I like podcasting. But if that's not your thing, don't make yourself do something that you don't like, because you will not continue to do it if you don't like it. So this is the end. It is, how am I doing on time? Because I didn't want to hold anybody. Oh my God. Did good. I did all 25 in 45 minutes. So this particular quiz is about how bookable you are. And I usually have people take a quiz for them to assess themselves. And I don't say to people, say, oh, you ain't ready. I'll never say that to anybody. I'll let you assess yourself. And in this quiz is the baseline of the things that you need in order to be booked on stages or booked in media. If you could say yes to all of them, you're good. If you see some no's, they need to be changed to yeses in order for you to get booked. So you can go to pamperrypr.com and take the quiz or scan it, either one of them. But I just thank everybody for being here. And we could open it up for questions at this point as well. Any questions? Let me ask all to unmute. I just would ask all to unmute. There you go.
No, it doesn't. Not here. Not on the iPhone. It does on the computer, but not here.
Okay.
Really?
I muted everybody, but anyone have any questions?
The devil's a lie. Well, I'm gonna get back to my training. Thank you so much.
Well, yes,
All
Pam,
right,
this is
love. Thank
Beverly.
you
I
so
have a
much.
question.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Hey there, Beverly. How are you?
Good. How are you? Good evening, everyone.
Good.
So with your podcast, how long is it? Is it only 30 minutes?
It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but I interview speakers. Sometimes they go a little long.
Okay.
Sometimes they can be about 45 minutes, but yeah, typically about 30 minutes is really like the average length of a podcast. Some are longer. I mean, if you're Shay or whatever, they could be an hour or whatever, but 30 minutes is the typical length for a podcast.
Okay. And then also with the newsletters, how often should I send out the
Monthly,
newsletters? Just
monthly.
once a month or twice a month? I've been,
I mean, you should send out emails regularly, but newsletters are typically once a month.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you could do two newsletters, I mean, if you have that much content, then maybe just send out just an email during the week in between the newsletters. I do a newsletter once a month, but I send out content probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
And so that's one of the main things. But you wanna have an audience that's engaging in what you do, and you want to share value. So that's really you want to share value. I see some other folks here. Hey, Dr. Angela, how are you? Afia, how are you? Now let me say something. I see some names. Hey, Rena. Hey, I see some guests here as well. If you're going to be in the same place where you are next year as you are this year, or you are in the same place this year as you were last year, you have to do something different if you want something different. So whether you are going to get involved in working with me or another publicist, it doesn't have to be me, but you got to do something. Whether you read some books that you ain't read, uh, do something. Speak Sell Shine is available. Read my emails. I put out information that will help people, that will help them move forward. And if you're not moving forward, it's because you're not doing something different. Now, the whole point of it is maybe you're not serious about stuff. So that could be a whole nother thing. But if you come to me and you're saying that you want to get out there, I'm going to help you. Now, you got to put in some work, and I will just tell you some things that you need to do. But one of the main things you want to do is that you've got to say, what is not working? What do I need to change? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? What book do I need to read? What course, what seminar, whatever, or a planner. Hey, Tamara. So what I have coming up soon, I'm putting it together, and God just downloaded this to me to do a PR power planner. So I'm a big on journals and planners and that sort of thing, but this is like a media mastery PR journal. It's going to have all the tools in it, like what Doctor said. But, is that going to be in there? That the templates will be in there, some contacts will be in there, and a guide. So it's really like a guide with resources from me. You'll get everybody to be on my email list, but when the PR planner comes out, so it's going to be a hardcover, not hardcover, but a physical book where you will actually keep track of your PR activities. Now, one of the first things I always tell people, if there is a media dream list that you want, write it down. What is written becomes real. If it's not written, it's not going to come real. So you write it down, and that's how I work. I've been working like this forever. So you write down the media that you want and the contacts, the information. When was the last time you reached out to them? What did they say? So you need a place to organize this. If you do want PR, you got to make it a priority. And this planner is something that will help with that. Uh, that is something that is going to be given to the people who join the Ready, Set, Go Speak community as well, the digital version. So people who join the Ready, Set, Go Speak, they'll have the PR planner, but it's one of the things where it's a tool to help you stay organized. So many of my clients, I call them, they're this kind of a bright brain and just real creative and got all these ideas. I was like, oh, but you got to capture these ideas and stay on track of them. So this is one of those tools that definitely I want to make sure that that people have. So anyway, hey YB, how you doing? Unmute.
I'm actually driving. I apologize. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I unmuted everybody because I just said, hey, I didn't want to be lecturing for a whole hour. I want to unmute everybody. If you have any questions, I'm really good of any kind of questions that people have because, like I said,
Well,
PR is
this was a great experience. I'm always learning, and so I appreciate you for
oh,
dropping these nuggets and dropping this wisdom and setting an example for young PR professionals like myself. Thank you.
yes. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. One of the things YB realized, and I realized that about YB, is that he was a natural publicist. That was what he does. He likes connecting with people. He likes promoting people. He likes collaborating with people, which is all the tools that a publicist should have. And, you know, every person should be their own publicist anyway, because you need to be able to promote, amplify, and market. Pitching is part of it. Do we pitch and we get no's? Yes. But you cannot let that stop you. You're going to have to pitch in order to get into the media. You may pitch 10 and get one. You may pitch 10 and you don't hear from anybody, but you keep on. The planner will help you stay on track. Sometimes their emails get over flooded. They don't have time to really respond. But when they do want to respond, I had clients on CNBC. I chased this woman. I didn't say chase it, but I contacted this woman a lot of times before my client finally got on CNBC. So the larger the outlet, the more it's going to, the longer it will take. Obviously, that's obvious, right? But if you are really, really persistent and consistent in your messaging, consistent in value that you're bringing, it will happen. But you got to make a list and keep a journal of like, okay, I want these 10 media hits within the first quarter of 2025. Okay, fine. Who do I know that can help me with getting those 10 media hits? Well, you're looking at one of them, but if you don't have me, find somebody, write it down and get it done. That's the main thing. Don't stay stuck. I can't stand that. I can't stand when people stay stuck. It's like it's just too much. Too many people can help you, but you've got to either invest time or money.
You have a
Or
question here
I have a question. Who has a question?
for Fire Evans.
I feel
Hi, Pam.
hey,
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I really am enjoying this. Glad I was able to hop on. My question is, are you seeing any trends or anticipating any trends in 2025 in the media space and the PR space given the election results? So do you think that's going to change the landscape at all? Are media companies going to be, operating differently or not? What do you
the
think?
only trend in media that I can see that I don't think the election per se, like in terms of what you do, what that will, what a subject matter expert has. Now, obviously, you got to be aware of news cycles, but in terms of what trends that I'm seeing in terms of media, is that it's more pay to play. It's just pay to play. So if you wanted to write for Inc., write for Forbes, write for, I don't know, Entrepreneur, it's pay to play. They have their little council. They call it a council or whatever, but it's really like you are paying to write for them. If you want to be on television, there is little sponsored segments, pay to play. If you want to speak overseas, it's pay to play. So it's like I'm seeing that trend on everything, on everything. I mean, influencers basically pay to play. Facebook has started out free. It's pay to play. So people have to pay to play. So if there's not a trend that I see, there is, if you want to get the cover of Forbes, if you have a checkbook, I can find you a way to get on the cover of Forbes. It's going to be some money. It's going to be some six-figure numbers, but you could get there. So that's where I see there's nothing that is off limits, that the media has realized that they've got to do something different because they see a lot of their numbers are dropping. So it is pay to play. And people just don't want to advertise anymore. They want to be part of the content. This content creator economy has really made media people just like, oh my God. So we've got to figure out some different ways of doing things. So the content creators, because if someone could get Shay Shay, if he could get a viral, or someone can get viral on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, they realize now that they're losing their audience. So what do we have to do? So as far as trends, I see media just really trying to figure out how to coincide with the eroding numbers of traditional media and the rise of social media, and how to really put those two together. So that's the only really trend that I see, but everything is really pay to play. And
If you don't mind if I interject, I think it was mentioned about podcasting. Podcasting is really changing. It really changed a lot to do with this election. Some of the places that Vice President didn't want to go to, some of those platforms was very valuable to the extent of getting messages out there and whatnot there. So podcasting is pay good attention to podcasting. Spotify just signed a deal just a couple of days ago. Spotify, they're going to go after YouTube for content creators and paying content creators that's got long tail video content.
Yep,
so
we knew that.
Podcasting is going to be major.
Apple Podcasts also has video podcasts as well. It used to be iTunes used to be Apple Podcasts, but Apple Podcasts has video podcasts on theirs as well.
Yeah.
So it is changing. I mean,
the trending.
A lot of people may have never listened to Joe Rogan, right? They never listened to his podcast, but it's just like now I'm listening to him, and because of the election. But as far as your messaging is concerned, you want to go to where your audience listens to that particular outlet, and it's so everything is so niche and micro right now. So even though it may be a small podcast, but their listenership are just fanatical. They're just super fans. So that's really like the main thing. Just knowing the media and knowing your audience, knowing who it is that you want to impact, and really making sure. I love the Black press. That's my thing. So if I know there's one thing that I know that I want to make sure it ensures that my community does, is the Black press, whether it's the Amsterdam News, the Washington Informer, the Michigan Chronicle, the Afro, the Houston Defender, I can name a lot. There's only a few. There's probably about 200 Black newspapers. I'm a part of the NNPA, National Newspapers Publishers Association. So you want to make sure that they were created for you. If you're an African American, Black Information Network is created for Black people. So you want to make sure that you don't run all over town trying to figure out, like, how do I get these people to listen to me? They were created for you. Black magazines were created for you. Black radio was created for you. Kathy Hughes is one of my heroes. I love Kathy Hughes. She's unapologetic about what she does, right? So yeah, figure that part out. Ebony, if more of us had supported, I ain't gonna go there. But anyway, Ebony and Jet used to be like the thing, right? If you were in Jet, you had made it, okay, back in the day. So don't Blavity is new, Madame Noir, The Grill, The Root. I mean, so there is, as far as our target market, there's a lot of media there. And you could go on those other media outlets, but the Black press will always be there for you.
It's 10:01.
It's 10:01. The Black press will always be there for you. I see someone that has a Citizens Press.
10:02.
Rena, come up on stage, Rena. What's your newspaper about? Is that your newspaper, Rena?
It is. It is.
Okay.
I'm based in Lansing, Michigan.
Go. Just
I'm
talking
based.
about, look at there. Celebrating
Can you hear
since
me?
2002.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm branching out myself, trying to meet other people in Michigan. I actually have a nonprofit that works with Black media to get advertisement for them. So last year we brought in $250,000 for Black media in Michigan. So I'm looking for other media to work with and just trying to network myself. I was very surprised that I'm kind of introverted. I'm an extroverted introvert, but I love people and doing stories on them. I look at it from a different perspective. The interesting thing about owning media is that you get to do a lot of different things. I totally agree with the with the podcasting portion of it. We also have a nonprofit that just was on the Nonprofit Council,
Okay.
the National Nonprofit Council, and we spoke about podcasts and how instrumental they are in the nonprofit world, especially nonprofit media right now, because that's the huge thing. But yeah, I'm just out here trying to make new connections. I'm in Lansing and it's boring out here.
I'm a neighbor. I'm down the road. I'm in Detroit.
I've been following you. I think you knew Jackie Day and Magic Johnson's mother.
Yes, yes,
So I've
yes.
been following
And
you
Cookie.
actually since you got started.
Oh my God. Yes. So you know how
Yeah,
long
which
ago
is
that has
probably
been.
just about as long as I
Had the
had the
newspaper.
newspaper. So
Mhm.
we just did a documentary on Black doulas and midwives, and it was my first documentary I've ever done, but we did it through the nonprofit. The state of Michigan has a lot of grants that are available as well. So with that being said, yep, I'm here 23 years. And I also have an amazing relationship with a lot of other Black media, especially Black Iowa News. Dana James just started a
Mhm.
newspaper and she covers the state of Iowa. So if anyone has any Iowa stories they want to get out there, we're pretty open and we share our stories
Okay,
because
good.
your your people are different from my people. So I think that when you contact Black media, Pam, you are so correct that we really we really do our best to cover stories, but a lot of people don't understand that if you're not supporting us, we don't have the bandwidth to write stories about everyone without getting that love back. I mean, we could post your story 300 times, but if you're expecting us to post the second one, we're like, so what do we get out of it? It doesn't
Yes.
have a reciprocal effect, but
Mhm.
everything you said was on point. I'm really proud of you. I've seen you from the beginning, so
Oh, thank you.
it
And
was
you can
really
see I've
good.
been consistent, right? I've been
You're very
consistent.
consistent. Thank you.
Well, I will reach out to you because the Black press is part of my mission. So I started out in print, so but I always starting with Black press. So I will reach out to you as well, Rena. And people, if they wanted to pitch you, what would be the best email for them to or website you want them to go to?
My email, I'll put in the chat. It's
Okay.
info@tncpnews.com. We're basically, if you put, I'm also on LinkedIn under Rena Risper. It's a
Okay.
very strange name. So,
Yeah, that's good for
um,
Google. If you got a
yeah,
common name, you can't find them. So
I
yeah, so it's
mean,
good to have
all
these kind of different
collectively
names.
together. And I also want to tell people that if you make apple pie, you are a cook and you love gingham. Gingham, apple pie, being a chef are all different environments that you could get yourself into. And I don't think that people really understand how amazing one person is in segmenting themselves out to the universe. So if your grandmother makes a great apple pie, why not connect with the Michigan Council of Apples or something like that?
That's it.
Because you you can create something very special. If your grandmother wore red and white gingham aprons and you started making aprons and then you started selling, I mean, I get it. And I learned this from a woman who probably never knew that I was following her this whole entire time. After 23 years, you've kind of kept me, just thinking about, how to market, but market other people, not really myself. So thanks, Pam.
Oh, you're welcome, Rita. This has been good. You've been a person that wrapped it up because I was just talking about the Black press and I was just going off. I was like, okay. Then I was like, I think I know that newspaper there. So yeah, that is good. So always show love for our own
Yeah.
uh guys. Black press has been there, will be there for you. They will give you love, but give love back. Same thing with Black radio and Black magazines as well. Okay, so go to speakersmagazine.com. Support us. So with that, I thank you all for joining us today. This has been really, really